Welcome to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Composting and Food Waste Reduction Project webinar presentation for fiscal year 2022 applications. I'm Kim McCabe, Management Analyst on Stretch Assignment with the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production. I'm joined today for this presentation by Jose Jimenez, Administrative Specialist with the USDA Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production. This presentation is recorded and posted on farmers.gov/urban for any time viewing. Today's presentation will be divided into 5 sections. First, an overview of the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production, then a description of the Composting and Food Waste Cooperative Agreements, the application, evaluation, and notification process, and lastly, some helpful hints and where to submit your questions. A frequently asked questions document, FAQ document, is available for review at farmers.gov/urban by visiting the resources section of the Cooperative Agreements webpage. New questions can be submitted to urban agriculture at USDA.gov and may be added to the FAQ document. USDA can provide general high-level responses to inquiries that applicants may have regarding the application process. However, USDA staff is unable to offer specific guidance on how to craft, structure, or write one's proposal. So what is the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production? It is an office within the USDA managed by the Natural Resources Conservation Service. The mission of the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production is to encourage and promote urban, indoor, and other emerging agricultural practices, including community composting and food waste reduction. The authorizing statutes and regulations for this opportunity are under Section 12302 of the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, also referred to as the 2018 Farm Bill. The Composting and Food Waste Reduction CFWR Cooperative Agreement Pilot Program is authorized by Section 222 of the Department of Agriculture Reorganization Act of 1994, as added by Section 12302 of the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018. The Secretary of Agriculture delegated the authority for the administration of CFWR to the Chief of the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS. Funding for CFWR in FY 2022 may also include funding made available by the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Public Law 117-2. While applicants are encouraged to submit proposals that meet one or more of the objectives below, inclusion of multiple objectives will be considered when ranking proposals. Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production will accept proposals that address at least one of the following: generate compost, increase access to compost for agricultural producers, reduce resilience on and limit use of fertilizer, improve soil quality, encourage waste management and permaculture business development, increase rainwater absorption, reduce municipal food waste, and divert food waste from landfills. A cooperative agreement is financial assistance from USDA to an eligible entity to carry out composting and food waste reduction activities. Different from a grant in that it provides for substantial involvement between NRCS and the awardee to carry out a CFWR pilot project. To help galvanize national efforts to reduce food loss and waste, USDA and EPA announced the United States' first ever food loss and waste reduction goal in September 2015. Calling for a 50% reduction by 2030. The government alone cannot reach this goal. It will require effort and action from the entire food system. The agency and its federal partners will be substantially involved in the work performed under the agreement and will undertake activities such as NRCS will connect pilot projects with other USDA agencies, such as, and not limited to, the Economic Research Service, ERS, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, NIFA, the Office of the Chief Economist, and federal partners like the United States Environmental Protection Agency to collaborate on projects and activities and outcomes that contribute to the U.S. food loss and waste goal of 2030. NRCS will coordinate and convene the CFWR pilot project teams and other federal government, regional, institution, state, and local government experts to share information and strategies related to CFWR with the goal of enhancing the locally driven process to better address nationally and regionally important composting and food waste reduction goals that transcend localities. NRCS will gather the methods, results, and benefits derived from these projects to evaluate and disseminate different solutions for increasing access to compost and reducing municipal food waste across the United States. Proposals submitted under this announcement will be reviewed for their alignment with USDA priorities on climate, equity, and environmental justice. Applicants are encouraged to review Executive Order 12985, Advancing Racial Equity and Support to Underserved Communities, Executive Order 14008, Tackling the Climate Crisis at Home and Abroad, and Executive Order 13990, Protecting Public Health and the Environment and Restoring Science to Tackle the Climate Crisis, to learn more about these priorities. I will now turn the presentation over to Jose.
Thank you, Kim. Priority will be given to the applications for a CFWR pilot project that will, 1, anticipate or demonstrate economic benefit for the target community, 2, incorporate plans to make compost easily accessible to agricultural producers, including community gardens, school gardens, and producers in urban settings, and to integrate food waste reduction strategies to include innovation, food recovery efforts such as, but not limited to, food cleaning, storage, and preservation techniques. And finally, introduce a robust plan that describes collaboration with multiple partners. We will discuss each in depth in the next slides. So first, it's the applications that anticipate or demonstrate an economic benefit. Pilot projects may include deliverables and outcomes that anticipate or demonstrate economic benefits to the applicant and its collaborators. It may include economic efficiencies through project activities that include plans for self-sustainability. It may also include cost-effective budgets in relation to the measurable outcomes and project impacts to include the rental or lease of equipment, vehicles, land, or building instead of purchase. Second, how can a project incorporate plans to make compost easily accessible to agricultural producers? This includes community gardens, school gardens, and producers in urban settings. Pilot projects may include activities that divert food waste from landfills to generate compost. It may include activities that increase access to compost for farmers and gardeners, and may include plans to continue aspects of their components of projects related to composting beyond the end of the project period. Through these pilot projects, the USDA is tapping into the creativity of communities around the nation to rethink the life cycle of food in ways that will minimize waste and maximize its use. Third, priority will be given to pilot projects that integrate food waste reduction strategies, including innovative food recovery efforts such as, but not limited to, food cleaning, storage, and preservation techniques. Pilot project may include activities that either complement, strengthen, or non-adversely adversely impact any existing food waste recovery and disposal by commercial marketing or business relationships in the area. They may include locally driven processes that better address nationally and regionally important composting and food waste reduction goals that transcend localities, that may include innovative solutions to increase the access to compost and reducing municipal food waste through the integration of food recovery efforts such as cleaning, donation, secondary markets like produce delivery service, feeding the animals, value-added products, on-farm storage, and other activities. Finally, priority will be given to pilot projects that include a robust plan that describes collaboration with multiple partners. Eligible entities should collaborate with 2 or more organizations on their CFWR projects. Applicants are encouraged to seek partnerships with public or private, non-for-profit, for-profit entities, academic institutions to include any minority serving college, universities, and other appropriate professionals and community-based organizations. Only the applicant must meet the eligibility requirement for this funding opportunity. Thus, not eligible entities may be partners on a project. The eligible entities that submits the application to the NRCS is responsible for receiving and managing the award. Applicants that apply as a partnership or other similar groupings must clearly describe the relationship between the applicant and the partner parties. Awards will only be made to a single entity. All letters of support and letter of intent from each partner are required to be within the application package. Who is eligible to apply for a CFWR Cooperative Agreement? This opportunity is for local governments, municipalities, counties, tribal governments, or city planners. Those are eligible entities to apply for a CFWR, and they must be located within the 50 United States, District of Columbia, Caribbean area to include Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the Pacific Islands to include Guam, American Samoa, and the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands. The definition of a local government is that any unit of government within a state that includes a county, borough, municipality, city, town, township, parish, local public authority, this to include any public housing agency under the United States Housing Act of 1937, special district, school district, interstate districts, council of governments, whether or not incorporated as a non-for-profit organization under the state law, and any other agency or instrumentality of a multi-state, regional, or intrastate or local government. The definition is listed on the frequently asked questions document found in the farmers.gov/urban and in the grants.gov post. The term of local government is taken from the Common Data Element Repository Library, and the CDER Library, it's the authoritative federal-wide source of financial and business terms, which is located in the Office of Management Budget, Uniform Grants Guidance, and the Digital Accountability and Transparency Act. That brings us into who is not eligible to apply for a CFWR. So this opportunity limit is not eligible for individuals like farmers or gardeners, for-profit organization or small business, state governments, or institution of higher education to include extension programs. They are not eligible to apply for a CFWR. Applicants that are not located within the United States, District of Columbia, Caribbean area, and the Pacific Island area are not eligible. The estimated funding floor for this opportunity is $45,000, and the estimated funding ceiling is $300,000. The funding floor means the minimum agreement funding amount for the federal share per agreement awarded. The ceiling is the maximum agreement funding amount for the federal share per agreement awarded. This in numbers reflect the total federal share, not any specific budget period. Projects will be categorized and ranked according to the project level, which are determined according to the federal fund requested. Level 1 are those projects from $45,000 to $90,000, and level 2 and $90,000 with 1 and $300,000. Applicants are expected to complete the projects within the project period required timeframe, which should be 24 months or 2 years in duration. Applicants are required to match 25% of the total federal share requested. There is no competitive advantage for an application to provide a matching that exceeds the required amount. If your project is selected for funding, any exceeding amount will be considered voluntary. Applications must include written documentation showing the amount and sources of match, including signed letters verifying the matching funds. Applications submitted in grants.gov that do not include a committed or secure matching, along with the required matching documentation, will be considered ineligible for the award. This is an example on how to calculate the matching requirement. If the total budget is $90,000, the applicant will request $67,500 in federal funds, which is 75% of the budget of the application. So this being said, if you request $45,000, you have a minimum share of $11,250 required for a total project cost of $56,250, and detailed in each different examples. What type of match will be accepted? Matching may be achieved by contribution of cash, supplies, services, third-party in-kind contribution, or a combination from sources other than funds provided through the grants. Cash can be the recipient cash outlay or cash donations with non-federal third parties or non-federal grants. In-kind can be a value of non-cash contributions, typically in the form of personnel, goods, and services. Volunteer services provided by third-party professionals include technical personnel, consultants, and other skilled and unskilled labor may be counted towards of cost-sharing or matching if the service is an integral and necessary part of the project objectives. What types of match will not be accepted? Applicants cannot use program income or any other federal funds as matching. Applicants cannot use unrecovered indirect costs as part of the matching requirement either. Unrecovered indirect costs means the difference between the amount charged to the federal award and the amount that could have been charged under the potential recipient approved NICRA. In the next slide, we're going to discuss activities that can be funded under the cooperative agreement. And these may include, but are not limited to, materials, supplies, and other costs related to the development, testing of strategies to generate compost and reduce food waste. Those are allowed. However, per unit cost of a supply item must be below $5,000. Any item with a per unit cost of $5,000 or above is considered an equipment. Construction, those funds may be used to construct, alter, or repair, to include any dredging, excavating, on painting of the building, structures, or any real property. Erecting or building or making substantial changes to the footprint of a building would be considered a construction project. Funds can be used to expand or improve current compost operations. Funds may be used for personnel whose time and effort can be specifically identified and easily and accurately traced back to project activities. Projects with budgets not including the purchase of special purpose equipment, vehicles, land, and building space during the length of the grant will be given higher priority. Any lease or rental agreement must be terminated at the end of the grant funding cycle. Special purpose equipment means equipment that is used only for research, medical, scientific, or other technical activities. Activities, projects that are not eligible for funding, activities such as the disposal of animal carcasses or material or animal byproducts that are not a component of the CFWR. General purpose equipment, that means equipment which is not limited to research, medical, scientific, or other technical activities, such as office equipment, office furniture, modular offices, telephone networks, IT equipment and systems, air conditioner equipment, printing equipment, and motor vehicles. Organized fundraising to include financial campaigns, solicitation of gifts, bequests, or similar expenses. These are to increase, raise capitals, or obtain contribution, regardless of the purpose for which the funds will be used. This is not an exhaustive list, and a more detailed list of the funding restrictions is provided in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. All the overview information can be found through the resources that have been made publicly available through the grants.gov. We encourage you to visit the farmers.gov/urban site to learn more about the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovation Production and our funding opportunities. For any high-level inquiries, please send us an email to urbanagriculture@usda.gov. I'm going to pass on the presentation to Kim to continue with part 3 and 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. The next parts 3 and 4 of today's webinar will cover the application and evaluation process and some helpful hints. You can find and download the Notice of Funding Opportunity and related documents by going directly to grants.gov and doing a keyword search for the program acronym CFWR. You can also use the CFDA Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance number 10.935 or enter the funding opportunity number, which is USDA-NRCS.NHQ-CFWR-22-NOFO0001179 to find the funding opportunity number. Pre-work will involve several steps that the applicant is responsible for completing. You'll locate the grant opportunity on grants.gov. Please read the Notice of Funding Opportunity to make sure you're eligible to apply and understand the instructions. If you determine your organization is eligible and wants to apply, follow the instructions in the NFO. The NFO is several pages in length. Be sure to read the entire document. After you locate the NFO and selected it, you will be able to view the opportunity information by clicking the tab Related Documents. A list of files will appear that can be printed and downloaded, such as the full announcement and other associated documents and instructions. Do not wait until the last minute. This chart is a general overview and includes the main steps a new organization or organizations that have never applied for a federal grant before must complete outside of grants.gov prior to submitting an application through grants.gov. Number 1, you must obtain an Employer Identification Number, EIN, also known as a Federal Tax Identification Number, TIN, which is used to identify a business entity. If your organization does not have an EIN, you should allow an additional 5 weeks to request and obtain an EIN from the IRS. The length of time to get an EIN depends on whether you're applying by fax or mail. Please refer to the IRS for time frame. Number 2, Obtain a unique identifier or UEI from the System for Award Management, SAM, by going to sam.gov. This can take 1 to 2 business days. Refer to sam.gov for time frame. Number 3, register your UEI with the System for Award Management. This is a required step for your organization to be able to apply for federal grants. Registration process is free. You need to have a TIN or an EIN and a UEI number to register in SAM. This process can take 7 to 10 business days. Refer to sam.gov for a time frame. Number 4, register with grants.gov. The amount of time to register can vary. You should allow 2 full weeks to complete all registration steps, but additional time may be required. More detailed information about each of these steps is within grants.gov registration page. Number 5, CFWR applications must be received by 11:59 Eastern Time on the date listed in grants.gov, and they must be received through grants.gov. Only applications through this electronic system can be considered. If you should encounter any technical difficulties while trying to complete any of these steps, please contact the Federal Help Desk at grants.gov. Know what forms you need to submit. See the checklist attached to the Notice of Funding Opportunity. CFWR requires that all applications include a project proposal narrative. Each page must be numbered and have 1-inch margins. The text must be single-spaced and typed in standard typeface with no smaller than 12-point font. The project title and summary abstract should not exceed 1 page, and the project narrative should not exceed 15 pages. Proposals that fail to comply with the required content and format will not be considered for funding. Material exceeding stated page limits and/or formatting structure will not be considered. Incomplete or non-compliant proposals will not be considered. Other forms and documents required include the Standard Form 424, Application for Federal Assistance, Standard Form 424A, Budget Information for Non-Construction Programs, Budget Narrative to explain and justify requested budget items and costs, detail the totals of the SF424A where determined, and demonstrate a clear connection between costs and the proposal project objectives. Matching and cost share. Provide signed letters verifying matching funds for each cash and/or in-kind resource that is required. For third-party contributions, a separate letter of support is required for each contribution, signed by the authorized organization representative of the contributing organization and the applicant organization. Collaborator letters. Documentation verifying support from collaborators is required. Such documentation may include a separate letter of support for each partner that is signed by the authorized representative of the organization. Letters documenting collaboration or match are not included in the 15-page limit. When applicable, application packages are required to include the Standard Form 424C, Budget Information for Construction Programs, and the Negotiated Indirect Cost Rate Agreement, or NICRA. The NICRA must be in a PDF format and attached to the grants.gov application package. Applicants selected for the award who do not have the NICRA but request indirect costs must accept and sign the 10% de minimis rate as a condition of their award, which constitutes establishing an approved rate. Recipients who do not request indirect costs are prohibited from charging indirect costs in their federal award. When you're ready to apply, click the tab labeled Package and then select the Apply tab. A reminder that applications must be received by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on the day posted through grants.gov. Applications received after this deadline will not be considered for funding. Late submissions will not be reviewed or considered. The agency will rely on a system-generated date and time receipt documentation to determine whether applications meet the submission deadline. Grants.gov will provide an automatic acknowledgement when applications are received. If you are having issues and require technical assistance with obtaining a TIN, EIN, or UEI, or having issues with SAM.gov or grants.gov, please use these numbers, web addresses, or emails to contact these applications directly for assistance, as they are not managed by USDA. It is suggested to keep a record of any correspondence with grants.gov or help desk, including an ID or case number provided. Now back to Jose to talk about the review process.
Thank you, Kim. Moving into our review process, each application will be evaluated in a two-part review process. First, the applications will be screened to ensure that it meets the administrative requirements as set forth in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. This slide shows an example of applications that will not meet the administrative requirement. Those are applications that are not submitted through grants.gov, proposals that don't comply with the required content, those that the format and the structures, including the page limits, are not met, and the application is incomplete or non-compliant. And finally, those applications that do not fit the purpose of the CFWR project. Continuing the admin review with some additional examples, if the proposal activities are funded by another federal awards or applicants that do not meet the eligibility criteria would be ineligible applicant types. Applicants that are identified in the SAMS.gov exclusion database are also ineligible, prohibited or restricted, or they are excluded from receiving federal funding. Also, any applicant that has committed fraud, including material misleading or incorrect information in the application, will not be considered or for further evaluation. The second part of the review process involves applications that have met the admin review requirement, and they get evaluated by a technical evaluation by a review panel. Appropriate members of the NRCS and other USDA agencies will review all applications submitted and may also seek the opinions of others if necessary who are qualified to give expert advice on a specific topic. Peer reviewers will be conducted by teams that will be considered to evaluate each proposal. To make sure that you review each criteria established in the NFO so you can understand how can you address and what is requested in the project narrative. A summary of the 5 criteria for this funding opportunity is in the slide. And all the information is very detailed in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. First, we have the degree of consistency with the purpose and priorities with the CFWR, that is 35 points. The project positive impact, and this is the degree to which the plan presents successfully demonstrate the potential for significant impact and positive impact on existing food waste reduction strategies to include recovery and disposal and strengthen commercial, marketing, or business relationships needed to accomplish those goals. That is a maximum of 25 points. Third, we evaluate the fiscal plan and resources, which they are the degree to which the project anticipates or demonstrated efficiency, and this include the evaluation of the amount of federal funds requested in the cost effectiveness of the budget, This is to include the analysis of items such as the rental of the equipment, vehicle, land, or building space for during the length of the project instead of a purchase in the relation of the expected measurable outcomes and project impact. That has a value of 20 points. Fourth and final proportion evaluation factor is the collaboration with partners. This is the quality of the plan for collaborating with multiple partners, including public or private entities, non-for-profit or for-profit entities, academic institutions to include minority-serving colleges and universities, and other appropriate professionals, community-based organizations, and local government entities to achieve project objectives and outcomes. That has a maximum weight of 20 points. After the technical reviews have been completed, pilot projects will be submitted to the approving official. The approving official for this opportunity is the chief of the NRCS. That's all for me. Back to you, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. So let's recap. This is an outline of the application, evaluation, and notification process and the tentative timeline for the composting and food waste reduction pilot program. Once the NFO is available on grants.gov, steps 1 and 2 must be completed by the applicant. The application package must be submitted to grants.gov by 11:59 Eastern Time on the due date listed in grants.gov. Steps 3 and 4, the agency will complete an administrative review of all applications. Applications that are found to be administratively complete will then move on to be peer reviewed and evaluated. Step 5, the agency anticipates announcing or notifying successful and unsuccessful applicants by September 30th, 2022. Helpful tips. Do not wait until the last minute. Read the NFO in its entirety and be sure you understand. Align your project proposal narrative and budget narrative. Make sure your proposal complies with the required content and format, including page limits, and get input from your collaborators and partners. Questions. If you have any questions, they can be submitted to the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production email inbox, urbanagriculture@usda.gov. As a reminder, USDA staff is unable to offer specific guidance on how to craft, structure, or write one's proposal. All new questions will be added to the existing composting and food waste reduction project frequently asked question document posted online at grants.gov and farmers.gov/urban. This presentation with closed captioning will also be posted on the website farmers.gov and grants.gov for anytime viewing as well. Thank you for attending the Composting and Food Waste Reduction Pilot Program webinar. We hope to see your application. Thank you.